Assalamualaikum and good evening, everyone. I hope all of you have got enough rest and eager to continue to our second session, which is regarding the oral submission. Without further ado, I would like to invite once again our distinguished speaker, Dr. Farid, to present his lecture. Please welcome.
Hi, have you had all your lunch?
Dah makan
Yeah.
nanti.
Sebab
Dah makan?
Dah, I just finished my breakfast, so still kenyang.
Oh,
But, okay, shall we continue?
Yeah.
Can you see my chat screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, cool. Now, having finished with the first part of Moot, that is on how to prepare a good memorial. Now we continue with the remaining half of the discussion that is on oral submissions. So basically that oral submissions deals with stage 3 and stage 4 of Moot, right? So we have covered the first 3 on the pre-stage, the first stage and the second stage. So now we will see on the remaining 2 stages on preparing for oral submissions and also during the day of the oral submissions itself. Now we will look at stage 3 on preparing for oral submissions. Now, basically, during oral submissions, that the councils, all right, the mooter, right. So whenever I use the word council, that is referring to the mooters themselves. So the councils will be trying to convince or persuade the judges or arbitrators to listen to their respective submissions, right? So during oral submissions, that mastery of facts and law will be tested during this time. Why? Because the judge will ask you so many questions based on the facts of the case given in the moot problem and the clarifications, and the judge will also ask you regarding the authorities that you are citing, be it from your legal provisions, from the statutes or from the constitutions or from the treaties, as well as the case laws that you are citing. The court will ask you what happened in that case, why did the court decide it such a way, right? What was the reason behind the judgments given by the courts and so on. So all these will be tested during your oral submissions. So within 20 minutes, so normally every counsel will be given to 20 minutes to submit their respective submissions. This includes the submitting of the respective submissions, your arguments, as well as to engage with the bench and address their respective questions. So these 20 minutes will be tested with many points, your own submissions and also the Q&A from the benches, right? So it will be very hard for you to respond to the questions from the bench at one side and then to further continue with your oral submissions on the other side, right? So during the oral submissions, never ever refer to any scripts. You can prepare a draft scripts, but you will never ever refer to the scripts. Why? Because the judge or the judges will ask you questions here and there. They will jump to ask you questions here and there beyond your scripts. So if you are relying on your scripts, then you will not be able to understand the questions and also you will not be able to address the questions. So you must be very flexible during your oral submissions. So in a way, during your submission, you must talk to the judge, right? So you must convince the judge. Have eye contact with the judges, right? With all these gestures and so on, then you will be able to persuade the bench or the judge to follow you, to agree with you, and to be in your favor, right? To decide on your behalf, right? with a proper decorum and demeanor. Now, what does it mean by decorum and demeanor? I will explain later on in the later slides, right? Now, uh, as far as preparing for oral submissions is concerned, that it will be better for you to invite other seniors or other lecturers or other friends to sit down and listen to your preparations, to your oral submissions, so that they could ask you questions. So perhaps that the questions posed by your lecturers, by your colleagues, or by your seniors will be repeatedly asked again during the real submissions that you will be submitting before the judges during the oral submissions, right? But sometimes questions beyond whatever have been rehearsed during the practice will be asked by the judges during the real oral submissions. So like it or not, you need to have a preparation beforehand, so that at least you can prepare yourself to be ready to answer and to engage with the bench whenever the court or the judges ask you the questions, right? So most importantly, to ask you as many questions as possible. So during the training, so the reason why you are inviting other lecturers, other colleagues, other seniors, and so on, is for them to ask you questions. The more the questions they ask you, the more you will be prepared for your real submissions, right? If they didn't ask you questions, then if during the real oral submissions, then if the judge asks you with so many questions, then you cannot handle yourself at that time. With all the nerves that you will be handling at that time, right, during the real submissions, with the questions being bombarded against you or on you, now you cannot control, right? So because for this reason that, having a good practice with your colleagues, with your other lecturers, then when they ask you with so many questions, then you will be able to be prepared beforehand. At least, though the questions are not quite similar with what the real judges will ask you during the real submissions, but still, by bombarding you with the questions, that at least you can have this that kind of feeling on the real day of your submissions. So whenever you have been asked with the questions during the trial, I mean during the training, then please take notes of all the questions posed to you, right? So normally the researchers will help you to jot down all the questions being asked during the preparation, during the training, so that, whenever you have finished the training or the preparation, that you can always go back to those questions that have been asked and go and find the answers, right? Proper answers with the legal authorities and so on, so that you could be well prepared during the real oral submissions. So if the same questions have been asked again, then you will have all the answers, right? So because you have prepared those answers before you go to the real oral submissions. So not only during the practice, right? Even if you do not have any practice, but you could also predict any possible questions from your memorial, from your own submissions. That perhaps that, most of the questions that the judge will ask you on the facts of the case. What happened in that case? Why that case is relevant to the case at hand? How do you differentiate between the authorities that you have cited with the present case, right? How do you distinguish between the case that has been decided with the present case at hand? So all this, you could predict the questions, right? Sometimes certain words that you mention or you utter during your oral submissions will be questions by the bench or by the judge. So you could have foreseen all these questions beforehand as well. So rehearse your oral submissions as many times as possible. So the same goes to your memorials. So the more you practice or the more you prepare, right? The more or the more that you will be well versed in both your facts and your laws, right? So whenever you refer to the relevant facts, make sure you stress the relevant words. For example, the numbers, all right, the words from the facts, or the words from the judgment of the cases or from the legislation that you are referring to, the dates, for example, if those dates are materials to the submissions, right? In the facts to show their importance or relevance to the arguments, right? So whenever, for example, that 15 million ringgit have been used, right? So you stress those words, so you stress those numbers before the court, so that the court listen to that particular word or point as to show its importance to the court, right? So always relate with the law while arguing. So you must always cross-refer to the facts at hand whenever you are referring to any provisions of the laws or any decided cases, and relate, always relate back to the situation at hand, so that you would like to show the its or their relevancies to the present case. So that is why you are citing those provisions of the law, and also you are citing those decided cases, right? So that the court could decide in your favor. Now, after that preparation, now comes the final part of the moot, right? Of the mooting. That is the day of the oral submissions. How do we conduct our oral submissions, right? Now, just now I have mentioned to you about decorum and demeanor. So what are decorum and demeanor? Right? Let me explain to you some of the interpretation. Now, uh, we'll deal with decorum first. Now, decorum means etiquette or appropriate or polite behavior, right? Your body language, your facial expression, right? How do you stand up? How do you move your hands and so on, right? Your facial expressions, right? And how do you move, right? Whether you move your body too much or not. So all this relates to your decorum, right? So the councils should conduct themselves in an orderly manner, or with due respect and dignity and authority of the court, right? So you cannot simply move, or you cannot simply move your hand gesture and show any hand gestures, right? So because there are rules, all right, there are it is we call it an unwritten an unwritten rules, right? When you are appearing before the court of law, we have written rules, but unwritten rules that all these have been properly addressed by the courts in a number of decisions. So I'll address those circumstances in the later slides. So the courts may be lenient to litigants who conduct their own cases, but all advocates and solicitors, especially that if you're appearing before any Malaysian courts, then you are expected to respect the dignity and authority of the court and to behave responsibly. Right? Sometimes the court or the judge, will treat decorums misbehavior very lightly, but imagine if you are appearing before any judge who is very strict with decorum, then it's either you'll be yelled out or you will be chased out from the court, right? Because of your misbehavior before the court of law. So you must show your respect to the court, right? Whenever you are appearing before the court of law. So some examples with regards to the issue of decorum in court. So I have cited a number of examples here. For example, in the case of Rees and McKenna, right, ex parte Rees, right, Justice Philip, right, mentioned among others, which have been reiterated by Abdul Malik Judge in S&M Shopping Arcades, Berhad. The court mentioned that to impute injustice to a justice, right? To impute a justice here refers to that if you are doing something unjust or unjust, or you are doing something injustice to a justice, a justice here is referring to the court of law or to the judge himself, is to insult him. If you are doing something or if your behavior is not in order, right? And you are doing that in the court of law, in the court, then you are actually insulting the judge himself, right? In respect of the very title he wears, right? The title that the judge is wearing, right? Well, justice, the court is the judge is the court, right? So if you are misbehaving in the court, it's like you are misbehaving before the judge himself, right? So you must be very careful with all this, right? The same goes to with the saying of Justice Wan Yahya in Haji Abdul Ghani bin Isa against public prosecutor, where the court mentioned that it is my considered view that as an officer of the court, a solicitor, I mean the lawyer or the counsels, must always conduct himself with decorum, right? So must always conduct himself with good behavior, right, at all material times. I will show you some of the clips whereby even the slightest gestures, would have insulted the court. Or I will show you some of the examples as well. Now, the demeanor, right? Just now we have seen what does it mean by decorum. Decorum is how do you behave, right? Your behavior, your facial expressions, and so on. How about demeanor, right? Demeanor is not only something that you are submitting or you're saying, but also how or in the manner that you are saying those words, right? How do you express those words? For instance, your tone of voice, right? You raise your voice, right? You yell or speak with a high note, right? Your facial expression sometimes, right? You show your uh, disapproval, right, to the court while you are saying that, right? Your gestures and also your carriages, right? Sometimes that you put your pen with you, then you pinpoint that particular pen before the court, right? That is also referring to your demeanor, right? Your hand gestures, right? When you put your hands too high and so on. So all this with your uh, 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 um, expression of words, right? When you express or you say the words while you're moving your hand gestures, or when you are doing your facial expressions, these are all considered as you are having a bad demeanor, right, before the court of law. So both decorum and demeanor must come together while you are submitting during your oral submissions, right? So at all times, an advocate at the bar, right? So especially when you are submitting before the Malaysian courts, or even in before the international court, that as well as the judge on the bench. So all this, goes back to the bench, or I mean to the court, I mean to the judge himself or herself. That they are all equally ministers of justice, right? Both the councils and also the judges, right? Whose object should be the attainment of justice through the ascertainment of the truth, right? So both parties must always, well behave, right, in terms of uh, um, uh, conducting the hearings, right? So a pleasing voice, sufficiently audible, and pleasing manner also helps, right? But most importantly, when an advocate submits to the court, counsel should also, or should above all, always keep his emotion under control. Whenever you have been provoked with the questions, or the judge disagree with the submissions, or even the judge yell at you or shout at you, but you must control your emotion, right? Just keep yourself calm and under control, right? You cannot um, um, compete with the judge. If the judge has raised his or her voice, then you also would like to do so, right? So you must not compete with the judge, right? Keep yourself calm and be under control, right? So judges are mere mortals, right? So, and also human beings. So there are certain limits to judicial tolerance. So if the counsels misbehave during the submissions, then the judge will get himself or herself tempered, right? Then things happen during the submissions, right? So judicial sensitivity will vary from judge to judge, right? As I mentioned earlier, that if the judge will not really concerned about decorum and demeanor, then that's fine. But most of the judges, they take decorum and demeanor very seriously. So all of you have to think and to make sure to ensure that your behaviors and also your voice projections and so on will be in accordance with the decorum and demeanor which have been properly set, right? So I would like to show you some of the clips, right, on how the you know, even the slightest words or gestures made by a council, you know, can result or will result to being cited as contempt of court and so on. So allow me to play a number of clips while I'm presenting. Before I proceed, can you see the clip?
No,
Can you see the
Doctor.
video?
Not
Sorry?
yet.
Sorry? I just paused the video. So can you see the VLC app?
No, no.
No.
Maybe you
We only
can
look at the slide.
reshare screen,
Oh, okay. Kejap, eh.
share your desktop, perhaps.
So I stop share. Okay, I start resharing. All right, can you see?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, okay. So this is an example of a real life whereby a lawyer who attended the proceeding very late, and then the court has dismissed the case, right? So he tried to argue with the judge, but then, you know, he raised his voice, and, you know, his gestures was not really proper, right? So then the court was, you know, felt insulted with the gestures and also his demeanor of the council. So let me play to you the clip.
Doctor, I think we cannot hear the video because you shared the screen without insert the video, the audio. Doctor, we cannot hear the video.
Doctor, we cannot hear the video, the sound of the video.
Sorry?
We cannot hear the sound of the video.
Oh, really? Kejap, eh? What happened?
Doctor, you need to share the screen with audio. If you
Okay,
don't
okay.
share the screen with audio,
All right. So let me replay the video. Right. Can you hear the sound?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
yes, yes.
No, I shouldn't be saying this. Can we stop here?
No, we finish with the course.
Really, it's going to take quite some time.
Never mind.
I don't care. Then stop it. But if you do this to me, I cannot stand it.
If you can't manage the case, don't blame the court. There are other courts
I've
that
been
said
here the whole day, my lady.
you're not the only one. Others are here the whole day
No,
also.
I'm doing this for the lady. Please, my lady, please.
I'm surprised, a senior counsel like you
I'm
behaving
senior,
like
I'm
this.
also not able to take this kind of treatment.
What treatment? We're just having a hearing.
Yeah, but I don't know what to say. I've been without lunch, without anything, and half an hour break.
We had a break. Everybody had half
Lady,
a
I
break.
couldn't even have a proper lunch. with this
That's not my
break.
problem. That's not my problem.
Okay, my lady. I think we'll stop here. Whatever you say, you can say. I'm going to take this up.
Oh, please do. You don't threaten me.
I'm not threatening you, my lady. I have got some rights. Please respect that. From the word go, lady, I don't know what I did. I seem to be on the wrong side of the relationship.
No, because you're
From the
asking.
word go, my lady. From the day we...
Can you please sit down? Can you please sit down?
Right. Do you want me to repeat the video clip?
Yes, why not?
All right. So let me briefly summarize the case, right? Or what had actually happened in this case. Basically, there was a trial, a proceeding, right, before the High Court. So the council was supposed to attend the hearing on a specific date and time as scheduled, right? But he came very late, so the court already struck off the case. So he tried to convince the court that he had many cases in the morning, so he didn't even had his lunch and so on. So the court says that is not the court's problem, right? So everyone was having their own cases in the morning, right? Even the court. So he was again trying to convince the court, but dia hentak-hentak meja, right? And then he raised his hand gestures very high. Even kalau you perasan dekat apa tu at the last minute of the video clip, bila the minute je dia angkat tangan dia tinggi macam tu, then the court say sit down. So the court dah hilang sabar, right? So throughout the conversation tu, the judge was really lenient to that counsel. Kalau orang lain dah kena lama dah tu, right? So I'll replay the video once again, right? And the counsel was addressing the judge as my lady, right? Because of the gender of the judge, right? My lady, right? So listen to the conversation very carefully.
I know I shouldn't be saying this. Can we stop here?
No, we finish with the cross.
Really, it's going to take quite some time.
Never mind.
I don't care. Then stop here. But if you do this to me, I cannot stand it.
If you can't manage the case, don't blame the court. There are other courts that
sit
said
the whole day, my lady.
you're not the only one. Others are here the whole day also.
I'm doing the court. Please, my lady, please.
I'm surprised, a senior counsel like you behaving like this.
Also, not able to take this kind of treatment.
What treatment? We are just having a hearing.
Yeah, but I don't know what to say. I've been without lunch, without anything, and half an hour break.
We had a break. Everybody had half a
I
break.
couldn't even have a proper lunch.
That's not my problem. That's not my problem.
Okay, my lady. I think we'll stop here. Whatever you say, you can say. I'm going to take this up.
Oh, please do. You don't threaten me.
I'm not threatening you, my lady. I've got some rights. Please respect that. From the word go, lady, I don't know what I did. I seem to be on the wrong side of the relationship.
No, because you're asking.
From the word go, my lady. From the day we...
Can you please sit down? Can you please sit down?
Right. Alan, before we proceed, do you have any question?
Doktor, saya ada soalan.
Yes, please.
Kan kalau mooting, we cannot be late, right?
We cannot what?
So, we cannot be late like the person just now.
Of course you cannot.
But for example, if in the middle of the session, someone had a stomachache, so how?
Then you must ask for the court's adjournment.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Doctor.
But you have to remember, it will affect the next round. Because, suppose that one round or one session will be over about in 2 hours time. So let's say kalau you sakit perut, then you have to stop, then you have to go to the toilet. So let's say you spend like 10-15 minutes, right? Then, dia akan affect the next round. Right? And kalau lama sangat nanti judge tu akan pissed off. So dia akan kacau mood judge tu. Mesti dia cakap, tadi tak nak berak, time ni lah pula nak berak, aku sekejap lagi nak balik, jalan jam lagi. So all these akan effect. Right? So again, I dah bagi tahu tadi, the judge are a mere mortal. Alright? Manusia biasa. So apa-apa pun dia akan effect dia tu. Akan effect dia punya emotion dia. Right? So kalau dia jenis yang baran, jenis yang tak boleh nak sabar, tak boleh nak tolerate, then kalau dia cakap no, kalau dia cakap may I seek for the court's adjournment because I need to go to the toilet. Kalau the court says no, proceed. Ambil you. Nah, tahanlah berak you kat situ. Right. Kalau you tak tahan sangat, tercerit lah you kat situ. Right. So it happens sometimes. So kalau you nak terkecing sekali bercakap, kalau court kata no, no lah you. So you have to bear in mind. Because dalam real life, certain submissions tu, masa bicara tu, dia dah set dah. Daripada pukul ni sampai pukul ni, masa tu diberi untuk you je. So kalau you lambat, you